Hi everyone, welcome to Iron Element. This is Mike again. I wanted to have a quick video on TRT, or testosterone replacement therapy. It's very popular nowadays. You've probably seen it online on other videos, on the news. It's a little bit everywhere. And I wanted to go over really what it is, how it can benefit you if necessary, and my personal experience from TRT. I've been on TRT for about a year now. And I'm very transparent about it. I'm very open about it. It's not an evil thing. It's not a terrible thing. It's a hormone balancing thing. So obviously, you know, TRT is testosterone replacement therapy. So of course, testosterone is the key hormone in males. And what TRT is you're basically replacing what should be your natural levels of testosterone with an exogenous source of testosterone. So it's an external source of testosterone, okay? And it's usually bioidentical, so your body doesn't really even realize and recognize the difference between the testosterone that your body's producing and the testosterone that you're putting into your body. So that's basically the idea, and the goal of TRT is to bring you to a normal level for your age group. Now, after 30, TRT, testosterone starts to diminish a little bit each year in males and into your 30s and your 40s. And I'm now 47. And I want to explain a little bit about my experience on TRT. But first, what I want to say is TRT is not for everybody. It's not a quick fix. It's not a magic a syringe you just do. You're not jumping on a bunch of steroids. That's not the goal here. TRT is not for everybody. So you should do many things before considering TRT to raise your natural testosterone. So there's a few tips I'll give you before you even consider TRT or getting tested that you can do that lowers your TRT naturally. So you want to bring that up, right? So the first thing is, these are not in any specific order, but the first thing is weight loss, right? If you have a lot of extra fat on your body, if you're overweight or obese, you really want to bring that weight down. And bringing your weight down will help raise your testosterone levels. You'll just be doing better for your body in general, not just testosterone levels, but all the other health markers. As we know, obesity is a huge cause of so many different diseases, heart disease being one, but you'll lower your risk of other issues, and you'll also help raise your TRT, your testosterone. So the first thing you want to do is cut that fat and try to bring your body weight down to a normal weight. The second thing is, it's pretty obvious one, you shouldn't smoke. I mean, if you're a smoker, you really got to kick that habit. A lot of people, if you're a non-smoker, skip over this part. But if you're a smoker, for obvious reasons, you got to cut that. I don't have to explain that. One of the things I want to mention is also drinking. If you're a person who has 2 or 3 drinks a day, or 1 or 2 drinks a day, that's too much. Never mind the calorie surplus that it's creating in your diet, but alcohol is shown to be really, really, really bad for you. And obviously, I'm a realist. I know everybody can't have zero alcohol. I try to have zero alcohol most of the time. I'm not a drinker. It's not a habit I'm looking to take up either. So I would definitely try to reduce your alcohol consumption to 1 to 3 drinks a week. And if you're doing 3 drinks a day, think of that over time. If you're having 20 drinks a week, you're talking thousands and thousands of calories. You're probably drinking an extra pound of fat right there. So definitely cut out the drinking and reduce that drinking, okay? Another thing you can do is you should be lifting weights 3 to 5 times a week, right? Strength training raises your testosterone. That's already proven. In the combination with your fat loss and your lowering your drinking, the muscle building will definitely raise your test. So you can do all of these things. Eat high protein in your diet. That's a great one to help add the testosterone. And also finally, but last but not least, is sleep. Get good sleep. That will raise your testosterone, will make you feel better in every way, including your test, okay? Now, I want to go over my experience with it. I was doing all of these things. I was sleeping, I was weight training, I was lean, I was eating high protein, I don't drink, I don't smoke. I was doing all the right things, but I was feeling sluggish. I was feeling not quite there. I was tired in the middle of the day. I just wasn't really feeling myself. So I went to my doctor, my urologist, and I asked for a blood workup to see what my hormones look like, my testosterone, as well as the other hormones they check. And then when it came back, I was surprisingly low, like very low for my age and my lifestyle. And the doctor was actually a little bit confused on why I'm so low. So we did a test right after, thinking there might be an error in the test. The next test came back the same numbers, or basically the same numbers. So I was in that really, really low range, below the low range. The testosterone range is pretty varied. It's pretty wide. So even if you're in what they call, quote, normal, you could be at the low end of normal and it's pretty low. But I was below the low end of normal, like more like a 90-year-old. I don't know why, but that's where I ended up. So I was a good candidate to start TRT, but I really knew nothing about it, okay? So my first thing what I did is I asked if I could start on the testosterone gel. Now this is a gel that you open up each day and you rub it on your shoulder and you rub it in and the skin absorbs it and it's absorbed into the blood through the skin. So that's the first thing I wanted to try. So I did a 3-month trial on the gel and then I got rechecked, my blood levels rechecked, and the testosterone didn't really move. It moved a little bit, but it didn't really move to it didn't even move to really to the low normal range. So I knew that I either had 2 choices to make at that time. I could either A, switch to a needle, or B, take more gel. Now, personally, I didn't like the gel. You put it on, you have to rub it quite a bit every single day. So number one, you gotta do it every day. Number two, if you don't rub it in properly, it gets sticky and your shirts end up sticking to it and it's just not very good. And number three, you have to wash it off at the end of the day because if you're in contact with other people physically, you really don't want that rubbing off on them. And it's pretty common that you don't want to rub off testosterone onto anybody. And so there was a lot of things that went along with it. That was a little bit of pain, a pain in the butt. So I decided to go to subcutaneous injection. And if you don't know what that is, that's injecting just below the fat layer or just into the fat layer of the body instead of putting a big needle into the muscle itself. So you can do intramuscular or you can do subcutaneous. So a lot of people are afraid of needles and they don't like the needle. And that's a barrier to entry, right? It really is a new barrier to get into that area. You have to cross that barrier mentally. Physically, it's not a big deal. It's just a needle. It's just a prick. But mentally, it's a tough bridge to cross. But I had to do that. So I decided to get on that. The doctor gave me subcutaneous injections and I was able to do them myself at home. I use a 21 gauge needle to draw the testosterone and then I switch out the needle head and I use a 27 gauge to inject. It's a 27 gauge insulin syringe. It's only a 1/2 inch. So it's a very small, very fine needle. And with a 27 gauge, it's very, very thin, very, very tiny. And you inject into the fat areas around your stomach or whatever, wherever the fat areas is. You can look online, there's lots of videos on it. Of course, it was a little bit tricky at the start. I had to learn the process and understand. So I was prescribed at the beginning 100 milligrams per week. It's kind of a standard starting dose for testosterone. And I did that for 3 months. Now, I got used, after about a week or week and a half, I got used to injecting. I was injecting twice a week and I got used to injecting. And after, you don't really feel, it's a little pinch, it's nothing. It's actually nothing. You don't even think about it after a while. And that's what I was on at the first needle injections, was 100 milligrams per week. Now, after 3 months I got tested and I saw my testosterone levels did move, but they didn't move that much. So the doctor wanted to up me to 150 a week. And at that point I was doing 150 3 times injections per week. So I was doing 50, 50, 50. That was my protocol. Okay. And I did that for another 3 months. And after I did that for another 3 months or 4 months, I found that it did raise my testosterone into the decent levels of normal. Not really the high levels, but a reasonable normal range. It's still a little bit low for what I'd like to see. However, at this point, you have to go with how you feel, not necessarily what the numbers show. The numbers are one aspect, but also how you feel is another aspect. So for me, I was feeling better. I definitely had more energy, right? I was feeling better in the gym. I had better pumps. I slept better. Your attitude changes a little better. Your sex drive goes up a little more. That's how you know what's working. And it is a trial and error. So I'm going to discuss with my doctor to go up again to a little more. I think I need a little more. But in general, it's a give and take with your doctor. You're going to have to talk to them and explain how you're feeling, where you're at, and where you want to go, right? So that's the experience I had with TRT. So I'm still on it. And yes, you would have to be on it for life. You don't come off it. I mean, you could come off it, but then you would have to recharge your natural testosterone production, which I know mine is really low anyways. So even if I recharge mine, I'd still be really on the extreme low side. So I'm not sure if that's the best fit for me. Now, there comes that hassle of injecting, right? If you're injecting 2, 3, 4, some people inject 5 times a week because they like a steady stream of tests. If you inject once a week, think of it like a spike. You're putting all this testosterone in, and then over the week, it starts to diminish, and then you put another spike, and then it starts to go down. So the more frequent you inject, the more stable you're going to be. So instead of it spiking up here, you're going to inject 3 times a week. It's going to go here, down, but then you're going to do another one, and it's good. So you're creating more of a level line, or as level as you can make it, so that your blood always has a similar amount of testosterone in it. Okay? And I'm not gonna lie, at the start, it's a bit of a hassle if you're injecting 3 times a week. You have to think about it, you have to worry about it, you have to always go through the injection. But honestly, it only takes me about 2 minutes now, not even, and it's very fast, and it's relatively painless. You don't really feel anything. I mean, it's a pinch, right? And sometimes you don't actually feel anything at all, zero. And sometimes you hit maybe a little nerve or something and you feel a little bit, but it's not that bad, guys. Really, you have to balance that with how you want your lifestyle to be. If you're feeling tired, if you're feeling miserable, if you're in a bad mood all the time, what good is that bringing anybody, right? So I would like you to go through the steps that I mentioned to get yourself to that point. Lift weights, eat high protein, get some sleep, trim that fat, and if you get to that point, get tested, see what your levels are, and go with your doctor and see what they suggest to do. And if you're already great, good, you don't have to go on it. But that's my experience from it, and I'm enjoying it so far. I'm having no issues after about a year on TRT. I use testosterone cypionate. There's ethionate as well, I think it's called. They're basically the same kind of thing. So you just have to stock up on your needles, stock up on your syringes, your alcohol pads, and away you go. So I hope that helps a little bit, guys, give you my experience. If you have any questions for me on my experience, please drop me a line. You can either email me at iron-element@outlook.com, or you can drop a comment in the bottom, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have on my TRT experience. I'm not going to make recommendations for you. I'm not a medical doctor, but I can tell you what I experienced and how I feel from those results. Okay? Thank you very much, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. I want you all to have a great day and keep lifting.